Welcome to the Spark by Hollywood podcast. I am your host, Deborah Goldberg. In this podcast, I guide my listeners through a deeper look into the parallel paradigm of Hollywood versus Jewish ideas, love, relationships, and empowerment, and uncover which one is truly attainable and sustainable for us as Jews to achieve. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Sparked by Hollywood podcast. Today I'm spotlighting the book UNORTHODOX, a book that has made many headlines in the media over the past years, a book that has starred and depicted the life of Deborah Feldman. This book has since been made into a movie and has been starred on many talk shows as well. Deborah Feldman grew up in a Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox community in Williamsburg, New York. She got married young at the age of 17, and within a few years, she started feeling compulsive feelings that she just didn't belong. Actually, she explains in her book that all throughout her youth, she never felt comfortable in her surroundings. There were so many discomforts that she had experienced and felt, living amongst family and friends in her insular community, a place where she just wasn't able to properly express her true self. It was time, she said, and she wanted out. So eventually, after giving birth to their son, Deborah left her husband and moved out of the community, choosing to live a life of a streamlined, secular woman. I add, Deborah stressed that on her way to her new life, she threw her cell phone into the Hudson River so no one, absolutely no one, would be able to reach her and convince her otherwise. She swapped out her modest clothing for jeans, tight-fitting tees and tanks, wearing clothes which would have been deemed inappropriate previously in her close-knit Hasidic community. In her book, Deborah documents the life that she lived in her youth and as a young wife. Her struggles and pains, many details unimaginable for many to comprehend. One of the things she focused on in her book was her role as a religious Jewish woman, her relationship with her husband, and the many rituals and traditions which she kept and adhered to. One of them being immersing in the mikveh and keeping the 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off rule in her marriage. Meaning 2 weeks that her husband and her were able to touch physically, affectionately, and sexually, and then 2 weeks when they took a physical break from each other. Kind of like the message that Matt Damon declared to the Hollywood world that was how his relationship with his wife was, something that he attests to their marital harmony. Not long after writing the book, Deborah also had an interview with Arnon Grunberg, where she explained her experience in even greater detail. I personally respect Deborah's experiences and acknowledge the emotional pain that she endured throughout. And yet, certain details in her book, as well as her interview with Arnon, did shed a negative light on the mitzvah of family purity, an experience that could be and is special and unique for women across the globe. Let's take a look. Arnon began by asking Deborah to explain what a mikveh is, the reason as well why for 2 weeks in the month, husband and wife refrain from sexual intimacy, and why a man cannot touch his wife during this time. Deborah responded, and these are her exact words, "The rules of Nida, which in Hebrew means kicked aside, describes a woman in her impure phase, starting when she gets her period and ending when the woman immerses and purifies herself in the mikveh." Deborah explained that from the time that a woman's menstruation begins, for a minimum of 5 days, followed by 7 subsequent days, she is impure. Not dirty, but spiritually impure. During these 7 clean days, the woman checks herself internally with a badika cloth to ascertain that no menstruation is flowing at that time. And at the end of the 7th day, the woman immerses in the mikveh. I'm going to pause the interview here to clarify her words and shed some light. What is the background to this mitzvah? Why do married Jewish couples practice this, and what are the benefits that they experience? We have an unspoken rule in this world, which is what I call the rule of constant. The rule of constant states that anything that is a constant, anything that is always around, always there, eventually changes or diminishes in value over time. So, if you were to constantly eat in your favorite restaurant every day of the week, it wouldn't be your favorite for very long. If you constantly watched the same movie or show every day or even every week, it would start to irritate you greatly. If you're a chocolate lover and you constantly eat throughout the day, it would perhaps nauseate you over time. If you constantly did the same monotonous work at your job every day, it wouldn't be long for you to start searching for a new job, new work, looking for change. To understand the rule of constant from a different angle, let's look at change. When we go for a monthly manicure, we change up the color. When we go shopping, we change up our wardrobe. When we go on vacation, we choose a different spot than we went to last time. When we have birthdays, we are changing our number. We are changing our year. We are starting something anew. It's exciting. It's celebratory. And therefore, it's a reason for excitement. Now, what about people in marriage who are seeking something new? There's something constant in their marriage. They're looking for change. Some people are seeking new partners. They're looking for a change from what was. They're looking for a change from their partner, from their spouse. They're looking for something new. They're looking for something different. Now, you might say, Deborah, that's quite extreme. People don't go around seeking new partners like a snap of the finger. Well, I'll never forget the time that I was walking in the mall as a teenager, and someone who was walking near me was speaking very loudly into their cell phone. And she was telling the person on the other end that she recently divorced her husband. The other person on the line seemed to ask why, because the woman replied, "Well, we're just bored of each other. We just don't love each other anymore. The spark is no longer there. We both needed to, just move on." Well, from my naive teenage mind, I thought, and that's a reason to get divorced? Well, apparently that's all that some people need. That's what this woman needed for a change in her life. She was bored. She needed a change. So what would be the response to boredom in marriage? How can we garnish change and excitement? How can we break the monotony of the constant routine of a married life? Deborah explains that Judaism teaches us that husband and wife take a break from each other. And that monthly break creates a yearning, a longing for each other to be reconnected. So it's not just a cold, hard rule. There's a meaning behind it. It's the subtle answer to the rule of constant. It's the beauty of creating an elastic effect between husband and wife, allowing each other to take the physical break from each other in order to look forward to releasing that elastic band an excited expression of love. See, the gift that Judaism has given us is the knowledge that when a married couple are constantly available to each other on a physical and sexual level, that sexual excitement can wane. It can diminish. In other words, when it's a constant, the excitement just isn't there anymore. Take a break. Build up your yearning, your understanding and love for each other, and embrace each other anew every single month. Remember the scene in the airport where you watch family members reunite after being apart? You're either dropping someone off or you're picking someone up and you see people embracing in tight, tight hugs. Either you understand if you're at the departure terminal that they are about to leave each other. You don't know for how long. It could be a week. It could be a month. It could be a couple of months. But they're holding on tight because they know that there's going to be a separation of time between them. Or you're at the arrivals and you see people embracing, running up to each other and hugging each other tight, tight, tight. Because their elastic band was pulled, their elastic band of being apart for so long. And now that they can finally snap back and embrace physically, that excitement is so strong. Who knows how long these people have waited to be reunited? That moment when we see the release of their elastic band, when we witness their reconnection and bonding, we experience the feelings together with them. We understand the potency of their unity after being apart. So back to Deborah's interview. She continued explaining to Arnon about the Nida period, culminating with the immersion in the mikveh. In her words, once 7 days are complete, in the evening, the woman prepares her body in a ritualistic way, and then she immerses in the mikveh. She continued, during the period when you're impure, your husband is forbidden to touch you, forbidden to hear you sing, forbidden to see any part of your body, forbidden to take a plate from your hand, even so basic as to being forbidden to sit on the same sofa as you. You really get the impression, she continued, that for those 2 weeks, you're really not desired. You're not valuable. You're kind of dirty. And then for 2 weeks of purity, you are holy, and you must be constantly available for sexual pleasure. And finally, Deborah ended off that this is the ping pong pattern that gets very difficult to deal with emotionally. She explained that because at the time that you're impure, you have to deal with it. You have to understand your role in your marriage at that time. And before you know it, you're pure again, and you have to find a way to deal with that. It ends up being very stressful. Again, this ping pong pattern. Let's take a look at this a bit more closely. Reflecting on Deborah's words, I really respect that she's speaking from her past perspective and experiences. But let's go back to the woman who's preparing for mikveh. It could be any woman. It could be Deborah. It could be her neighbor. It could be me. It could be you. Deborah calls this preparing her body in a ritualistic way. Again, a very static term without real details of what actually goes on in the process. Many women, when they're preparing for the mikveh, describe it as a spa pampering experience, myself included. We have a definitive goal here to ensure that our bodies are being completely cleaned from dirt, from sweat, from makeup, from nail polish, and loose skin. Why? Why is that important? Well, first of all, that does explain a spa pampering experience. We're not just taking a quick shower and just doing a little rub on the skin. No, we're really going through a cleansing, cleaning process. But why is this important? Because once the woman is done cleaning her body, She will then immerse in purifying waters of the mikveh. Again, not cleansing herself in the mikveh, but purifying herself on a spiritual and holy level. Therefore, she wants her entire body to have contact with this water and literally have no separation from it. The time that the woman is preparing for the mikveh is her time. It's her cut out time in her hectic life, in her busy life, to turn the volume down a notch, starting the process by bathing in a warm tub of water, relaxing herself for a full 30 minutes as she washes her body, untangles her hair, and gives herself the care and attention to every detail. So you can see that beyond it being a ritual, the mikveh preparation is part and parcel of the mikveh immersion and its spiritual experience, which means that as she goes through the process of preparing her body, immersing in the waters, and using the time in meditative prayers, she takes care to do it all with precision and intent. And thus, she connects with and beautifies the mitzvah at the same time. Again, all the while knowing that when this process is complete, she will be ritually pure once again, and only then will she resume sexual activity with her husband. This is also a time, by the way, that if husband and wife have a family, if they have children, the husband takes over the household responsibilities, so his wife can spend her time in solitude without interruptions and focus on her immersion with a clear mind. Another plus for their marriage. And finally, Deborah gives us a full list of all the things a husband and wife are forbidden to do during these times. No touching, no singing. He can't see her body. He can't even pass her anything. He can't sit on the same couch as her. This perspective, presented in this way, sounds like a whole lot of caution tape, lots of no-go zones, a feeling of restriction overcoming her audience. And not to sugarcoat this, but again, to give perspective. In Deborah's words, a married man and woman are in a ping pong of emotions. She's wanted for 2 weeks and then rejected for 2 weeks. Rejection? I'm not sure about that. Yes, we are taking a break from one another, a physical break, while building on our emotional and communicative support of one another to garnish, to encourage that closeness at the end of 2 weeks. No one is casting anyone aside. No one is to blame. No one is made to feel dirty or less than the other. The added barriers of separateness that we take is to ensure that we don't slip and engage in sexual closeness when the Torah tells us not to. It's kind of like a diabetic not walking into a candy store. When they know that they'll have the temptation to buy some treats, eat some, and automatically have it affect their health. It's easier to just not step inside. But I do agree with Deborah. I do agree that it works on our emotions. That longing to be reunited with one spouse, coupled with the knowledge that you have to wait. Gotta wait 5 more days, 4 more days, 3 more days, 2 and 1. That excitement and the restraint is what I call the double-sided emotional coin. What we are doing is creating a carbonated bubbling of excitement within us, with the knowledge that we are about to be reunited on a wholesome sexual level with our spouses. God created us in an incredible way, for man and woman, husband and wife, to be attracted to one another. And this is the recipe how to keep this attraction going strong. This, my friends, is the mitzvah which has kept the Jewish nation alive and going strong all these years. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. If you are loving the Spark by Hollywood podcast, kindly leave me a 5-star review on the platform that you're listening on. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sparked by Hollywood. That's where the conversations happen. That's where I give you extra content on all my episodes and where you can send me your feedback, your comments, and questions. And finally, in a world where we are all enamored by the spark of Hollywood and its celebrities, always remember your own spark that you carry within you that makes you the gift that the world needs to shine that much brighter. I'll catch you in the next episode.